Welcome to another episode of the Chaps podcast. We are a Marvel conversation show between me, GAThawn, a casual's casual, and coming at you from across the multiverse, the man who is finally, he's come back to Chattanooga. It's Hoagies. What's up, my friend? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. You've come back to Chattanooga. Yeah, that's not really where you live. From a place much more exciting. You were in Disney World until a few days ago. How was your trip?
Oh, it was awesome. We are a big Disney family, and so I've been there quite a few times. But I got this new hat.
Oh, that's cool.
I went,
Guardians of the Galaxy.
yeah.
Oh,
So I
that's a
wund on the
pretty sweet
Guardians of the
hat.
Galaxy ride. I saw it. I was like, that's the one. Um, but yeah, I went on the ride twice. It's super fun. It's like it's a good extension of the Guardians story. And then I went on the new Tron ride, which is awesome. And yeah, I was playing some Snap, of course, and but I was like a little I'm actually been playing very casually over the past couple of weeks. Um, and so
What does that mean for you?
well, yeah, I'm not as concerned with winning, and I'm not as like, I don't feel as like pinned down to playing like the top meta decks, which is nice. I've been kind of wanting to get away from the top meta decks for a little while, just because I feel like they've been getting a little bit stale, and but I'm like addicted to them. But but now that I didn't have as much time to play, it was nice to be able to play more casually, not care as much about winning, and play some like off meta stuff. So I was playing. W has this like Guardians of the Galaxy deck, which was really fun because I was going on that ride. So I was playing a lot of like Guardians cards, and then and then I was playing a card deck too. That was pretty fun. Just like don't both decks I like just didn't have to think as much. Just a little more relaxed. Didn't care as much about winning. They're still pretty good decks too.
Did you see other people playing Snap while they were waiting in line? I think Snap would be a great diversion. You could do a few, like gold ticket runs, multiple gold ticket runs while waiting in certain, Disney rides lines, I guess.
Well, yeah, I don't. When I go to Disney lately, I don't wait in lines very much, actually, because I mean, there were some lines, but they have this like lightning lane system, and we don't go on that many rides. We have a 5-year-old, and his favorite thing is the pool at the hotel, and then like the
No line
playground.
for
So
that.
yeah, exactly. And then there's lightning lanes. So I got the lightning lanes for the Guardians and Tron. Um, and I did play like one or two games in line for Guardians. Um, but like the line is so fun too because they have like there's like stuff happening around you in the line with the like Guardians actors or like on TV screens and stuff. So I didn't play as much as I was expecting to in line. I did play. I didn't see anyone else playing. I was kind of hoping to, but I didn't.
You could have said like, "Who's playing Marvel Snap? Who wants to play me?"
Yeah. Oh yeah, that would be fun. Challenge someone.
Next time you're there, don't do the lightning lane. Just like get everybody, just all the people around you. You can teach them how to play while you're waiting in line.
Right. But then I might lose my shit if someone gives me the like Ms. Marvel thumbs up.
Oh yeah. Actually, so I've been playing Marvel Snap, as one does, and I've started to like think about the whole like pounding, the pounding emoji at the end, and I do feel like compared to many other games I've played, maybe Magic the Gathering Arena as the big comparison. There's a lot more like goodwill, or kind of like, especially once you're in Conquest, it's kind of like good game, bud. Usually the winner, like daps you up there. But honestly, like whenever I lose, I have a hard time giving the dap back. I'm kind of like a sore loser a little bit, and then also whenever I'm winning, I tend to be like a thumbs up. I'm like more of a thumbs up than like a I'll give you a pound kind of player. I think that means I'm a little bit of a dick.
Yeah, well, just you've got a touch of toxicity.
Maybe it's because I lose a lot. Um, Honestly, and maybe this is the segue into talking about I guess the what we've seen out there in the snap fields that we've been playing. And so I've been doing, I think the last time I mentioned a Nimroy deck that I was doing, and I've kind of like honestly I've felt a little bit lost the past week or two. That's usually related to the fact that you've not introduced a top meta deck to me or to us, the audience, and I'm kind of left to my own devices. And I've kind of now been doing a deck which I know is very suboptimal, and I call it Rod Lady or Lady Rod. I haven't decided. So it's got both Nimrod and Lady Deathstrike in it. And unfortunately, what I've come to decide is Lady Deathstrike is just too expensive, and you just don't get enough power.
Yeah.
It's just like the turn where you're gonna play Lady Deathstrike, even if it's turn 4, it's the cost of being like the price for having to get that out on turn 4 doesn't really make it worth it for the most part. However, Lady Deathstrike has allowed me to do a lot of the clipping of those smaller, annoying, like I don't know, support characters like the Invisible Woman or the what's his name? Oh God, I'm drawing.
Morbius.
Like Morbius is another good one. Mobius, take Mobius out of the picture.
Oh yeah, Mobius is what I meant. Yeah, and Elsa Bloodstone is a good one.
Bloodstone, yeah.
Sure.
So it's and also God,
Wong.
Wong.
You can just wreck the Wong's day for sure.
I think I just need a card. I just need to keep the card list up, and also gosh, I'm trying to like who's with the guy, the guy that prevents your characters from like having like diminished power. He's a 2.
Oh yeah, Luke Cage.
Yeah.
Luke Cage.
So I can just that's been my pleasure is basically just snipping those out from people. And so I have this, but it's just it's like when I have the right cards in the right sequence, then the deck can be like really good. It's got the normal destroy stuff in there. And I've actually won a bunch of silver conquests with it. But I like often have to retreat a few times until I get the right sequence, and then I hit like a really big snap, and then just knock them out, and then they kind of quit. Usually is kind of how it ends up going for me. But I've felt frustrated, and I really have felt maybe it's just become this way recently. I feel like turn 6 is bigger than ever. Like everything is turn 6. Everything. It's just like the whole like. Turns 1, 2, 3, 4 are just basically to set you up for whatever you're going to do in turn 6. And turn 6 is just all about being extremely unpredictable or playing something unstoppable or dropping like as many big bombs as you possibly can. We're going to talk a little later about discard, and we can get into that later. But the Invisible Woman, like M.O.D.O.K, Hela, is just pissing me off so much. It seems like they get an Invisible Woman on Hela every single time, so they can basically just drop all of their cards, and we'll talk about that. But or Infinite and She-Hulk, or all right, I got my awesome play, they play leader, that kind of thing. It's just like whatever it is, the turn 6 is just frustrating me, and I end up losing a lot on turn 6s when I think I have the game in hand.
Interesting. Well, so okay. As a follow-up, can you post the deck list in the comments after the show?
Which deck list?
The
Lady Rod?
the Lady Deathstrike. Yeah, I want to try that one.
Sure.
And then that is really interesting. I know you've been quite frustrated with the Invisible Woman, M.O.D.O.K, Hela stuff. Um, yeah, I don't know. Like, so personally, I just don't think that deck is very good, and I don't really think it's that fun to play too. But that's because I think the style you have to play with that deck is like you're actually going to lose more games than you win, but you have to try to get more cubes when you do win. And and then maybe there's like a little bit of bluffing involved. I did try it one time with Kang, where like you bluff on turn 5 or turn 6, but you're playing Kang. So you're like snapping. You're snapping, pretending you have the big combo when you don't have it in hand, and then you're playing Kang in case they call your bluff.
And then you
Um,
retreat.
Yeah, then you end up retreating, and that's the thing. Like you got like when you play that deck, you got to retreat like all the time, basically, until you get your big combo. Then you really got to try to get like 4 cubes on the big combo because you only get it like 1 out of every 3 games. It just like I don't know. It's just not my style. I don't really enjoy that.
It just seems. I mean, I guess whenever a deck beats you, with like whatever combo it needs to get, then like it's a different experience than all those other times when you just don't see that. When it doesn't happen, or I just feel like every time there's an invisible woman on the board and it's a discard deck, they're gonna like hit the hella. I don't know why.
Right, right, yeah. Well, it stands out in your memory more, and then it's like, yeah, that's part of like that deck. With Invisible Woman is always scary because you don't know what's behind it, right? And so it's kind of like trying to scare part of like the power of it is it scares you into retreating or into playing suboptimally.
I mean, do you want to just talk about it now? Like what is the counter to that? Because like as we've talked about before, um, in other contexts, the Invisible Woman plays at the end of the game, are kind of like a little bit allow you to use certain abilities or certain cards like beyond the other game mechanics. For example, Killmonger, using Killmonger behind the Invisible Woman allows you to tag those the powerful 1 cost cards, which you couldn't get due to priority.
Yeah, I mean, like Cosmo is a big one for if you. Oftentimes, you throw a Cosmo in Invisible Woman lane, that's just like instant retreat. Um, but there's a ton of counters to Invisible Woman. Like uh, Rogue is a really good card in the meta right now too, because it's like you want to steal their Morbius or their Luke Cage, whatever. Like those are 2 big like tech cards that like oftentimes like that your opponent really needs that tech card. They have that card in their deck for a reason, and you're stealing it from them. So I think Rogue is really good, but there's Enchantress is another one. Lady Deathstrike is another one. Like I just that's my other problem with that deck is like I just feel like there's too many counters, and it's just like and it's so frustrating when you yeah, and it's hard to snap too. It's like it's hard to snap on your good hands because then it's like they're gonna what if they throw down a Cosmo next turn?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. I guess I should just run. I need to run better tech card. I need to be a better tech card user. I think that's
Right. Well,
probably
and
what
then
it
and then
is.
it's just like and then retreat when you think they have the combo. Retreat.
Well, I guess okay. I guess that's easier than I was imagining. But um, ladder updates. I'm up to 85. I
85,
so
nice.
I've had now I mean once now I'm at 85, 5 away. I'm being very careful. I'm just retreating the second that things are not looking up for me. Whatever my draw is or whatever the locations are, or them snapping. I'll just walk with the 1 and then just kind of wait for a better play. But I think I went up to like 86, almost 87, and now I'm back down to like right at 85. So I'm gonna go for 90. That was my goal at the beginning of the season here. Um,
Nice.
so
Nice.
what else have you seen while in the snap fields?
Well, so one recommendation I have for climbing is I think the best deck in the game right now is Loki Elsa. Um, and if you just like search for KM Best on Twitter and find his Loki Elsa deck, I think that's probably the best one in the game. But it is like he says this a lot that it's really hard to play. Like you have to you just have to have a good understanding of like what to do against different decks and stuff. And whether you want to play a Loki game or not, whether it's better to play Loki or better to try to do like some other Elsa stuff. Um, but anyway, that could be a good one for climbing. And I think it's really fun too. Like I really like the Loki. I really like Loki decks. I really like Elsa decks, and this combination of Loki and Elsa, I think is really fun. But I've just played it so much that I'm just like I'm ready to just try some other off meta decks. They're not going to be as good as Loki Elsa, but
But so be it.
anyway, that might be good for climbing. Um, Yeah, and then there's like Silky Smooth is still a good deck. It has Elsa in it now. You're playing like uh, so you're trying to get Elsa down. That's probably the most important card. But then it's like you've got like Jeff and Vision. So you're trying to get like an 11 power Vision from Elsa that you can move out of the Elsa lane and then play another like card there. I think like usually it heavily has Goliath in it. Um,
Yeah, I've not seen much Eliath right now. It's kind of Eliath has died down, Loki has died down a lot.
yeah. I think they both have. I mean, so yeah, I have mixed feelings about the meta right now because like I still like Loki has been the best deck for like more than a month now. Um, so that's just getting a little bit old. But on the other hand, I do think that there's a lot of variety in the meta right now, and that like a lot of decks can be fairly successful. A lot of decks can be fun to play, at least. You can have a decent win rate with a lot of decks. You can be more creative, do some more like home brews. Um, but again, so there should be an OTA next Thursday. So I'm really hoping they hit both Loki and Elsa the next OTA, so
I
we
mean,
can
Elsa's pretty
take that
bad,
back
pretty
down.
badass at the moment.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah, she's awesome. I mean, super fun card. I have no qualms over them releasing these like super powerful cards personally because they're fun. But I do want them to get nerfed so we can see some other
Well,
good
I guess
decks.
maybe, yeah, if they just keep releasing powerful cards, there's just gonna be so many different powerful cards out there that like you can win with an assortment of methods.
Right. But that's yeah. Then you get into power creep if it's every card is more powerful than the last one. But then I do think they do a good job with like they nerf cards to kind of like prevent the power creep, and then they also release bad cards, which I think is just an important thing they need to do to kind of slow down the power creep. And so that was what happened this week. I think they released a really bad card, Black Knight, that I did not buy. Um, it seems like the consensus is it's like a very bad card. I mean, and the thing is, like, I did play against some Black Knight decks, and I was like, when they hit their combo, it's like awesome. If they can like discard an Infinite and then bring back the Infinite with Hellrider, and then they've got 20 power, whatever that token is. Um, but it's just so hard to get that combo, and it's so easily countered.
Yeah, it usually doesn't
It's
work
just
out in
not a
your
good.
favor when you drop 20 on the board on turn 4.
Oh, right, exactly, right. Yeah. Shang-Chi. Meet for the Ebony Blade. There's Shadow King turns the Ebony Blade into 0. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's kind of the consensus I've been reading in the reviews that it's bad. So even though I have like I think I'm up to like 18 spotlight caches, so I have plenty of resources, but I just don't want to spend them out of principle. I don't want to spend them on a card that's just that I'm never gonna play.
Before we get too far afield, I sent you a screenshot a day or two ago of my beatdown from that Invisible Woman one, and what pissed me off was that they had their turn six play was the Iron Lad behind the Invisible Woman, and they had Hela as the final card in their deck. So it copied that and then dropped everything on top of that, and it's just like that's the thing is like Iron Lad. There's just these cards that you just don't really. I don't know. They're 6,000 tokens, and then you kind of I guess just have to wait until they show up into the spotlight cache to try to get them. Like an Iron Lad just seems like just a card that every good deck has in it almost. But like, so you just can't really use the top meta deck unless you have you got the Jeff or you've got these like really just helpful situational cards.
Yeah, that to me that is like the most frustrating part of the system right now is that like for some reason they've been holding back on Iron Lad. They just haven't put him in. I think he might have been in one cache like a while ago, but they've repeated null like 3 or 4 times at this point.
Actually,
And
I know we're gonna talk price analysis later. Um, Maybe I can save my comment for then. I'm curious because I had Iron Lad come up in my like collector's token rotation, and I thought about pinning it for 6. But we've talked about the price point for trying to get collection complete, and they boosted up the cost of 2,000 collector tokens to 1,400 gold, which definitely is a much steeper price for 1,000 tokens rather. And
yeah,
so I don't know whether it's worthwhile just pinning that one, which seems to be really useful, and then just kind of holding out for 6,000 now, or still using my 3 occasionally. Because I figured like the way I'm going with the collection, I don't know. Do you want to pull up the collection update slide?
yeah. Let's go to I think we should look at this one that came best tier list because, well, just because like thinking about like which cards are you missing, um, and personally, I think that while overall the best strategy with tokens is to only spend them on Series 4 cards that are for 3,000 tokens. I think Iron Lad is probably an exception to that because they've been withholding him from the caches, and he is one of the best cards. So KM Best had, this is like a month old at this point, but KM Best had ranked Iron Lad at, as a tier 2 card, basically. So, as good as Galactus, Snow Guard, Eliath. Um, and yeah, I agree with that. And I think he's a really good card. He's really fun. He goes in a lot of different decks. And so personally, again, I would say like he's worth 6,000 tokens, even though, in most cases we recommend only spending your tokens on 3,000 cards. But another consideration would be like, do you have like all of the other cards that are better than Iron Lad? And do you are there any other like 3,000 token cards that you really want? Like
It
uh,
does seem like any of the 3,000 token cards are not ones that I want.
right. And then we can also look at the ones that are coming up. It seems like it's generally been like one per month are released, and yeah. So how many tokens do you have right now?
I've got I think about 4,000. I mean, maybe I'll never see Iron Lad again in the rotation, but
Yeah, it might take a little while, but yeah, it doesn't cost anything to pin them. Especially if there's nothing else that you're really targeting for tokens, you might as well just pin the card that you want the most until
well, do you want to go back a slide or two?
yeah.
because I mean, I've got my 6 caches, and I'm definitely cashing in on that one, the end of November, or so I'm gonna cash in at the end of
And
October also, and get those
yeah,
3 that I don't have, all movement cards.
so, which are for the audio listeners are Werewolf by Night, Silk, and Ghost Spider, which I think is great. Guy Silk is one of my favorite cards. And you don't have any of those, and Werewolf looks like he's going to be pretty good too. So I'm definitely buying Nico and Werewolf. I think they both look pretty fun.
Hmm. And then,
So okay, so you're cashing in on the week of October 31st to get Werewolf, Silk, and Ghost Spider, and you've got your eye on another week in November.
yep, the end of November, the Martyr Jean Grey Spider-Man. I kind of like the Jean Grey control. I want to build the Jean Grey control deck. That's my goal.
Yeah, I think Jean Grey is fun. It's a very fun card, off meta. It can you can really wreck your opponent with Jean Grey, but you can also it's just like tricky. She's really tricky, and you can also you know you could like there's some games where it's like playing Jean Grey is like better for your opponent than it is for you, but then I guess like you just recognize those games and don't play her those games. But
Well, I
yeah, I
guess
think that looks like a good week. I don't have Spider-Man 2099, and I think he's one of the worst cards in Series 4 and Series 5. But again, like you might not end up getting him when you cash in that week.
I mean it's basically the move equivalent of a Gambit, or a discard equivalent of a Gambit, isn't it?
Yeah, he's the move equivalent of Gambit, I think, and that's yeah interesting. You bring up Gambit because I've never really played that much Gambit until this week, when I've been playing more discard, and he's a very fun. I think Gambit's better than 2099.
I'll have to show you. Maybe you'll have to explain to me how to include my deck list, if it's just a screenshot or what the best medium for sharing that is. But I should share with you my discard deck also, because
Yeah,
it features Wang, and I have Daken in there, Moon Knight, and Gambit. So like the goal, and Magik. So the goal is to get turn 5 and turn 6 usually can be pretty fun for me, in terms of dropping a Moon Knight or a Gambit like on an unarmored enemy can have some fun dividends, especially if you got your lips. You can keep elevating your lips.
lips.
Yeah, and not APOC. I call them lips.
Oh, lips. Yes. Yeah, that
My
sounds
off
awesome.
meta naming.
So yeah, I guess there's two ways to share a deck list. Is screenshot is maybe my preferred way, but then also like you can also if you click share in the app, you get a link that like you can just import directly
Hmm.
into the game. So like that's helpful too.
Okay. All right. I will share 2 of my decks, my crummy win percentage
Yeah,
decks. What I want to say
put them
is,
in the comments. I want to try them.
yeah. We were just talking about Jean Grey and the experience that you're going to encounter. I guess every single deck out there is going to run into decks that just play better against it or worse against it. Like the best decks in the meta. Like, what is the win percentage on those?
I think it fluctuates. And I think it depends who's playing for sure. But like, they so like I use when I'm playing on PC, I use this app called Untapped.gg, which is most of the streamers use that because it does like some good tracking for you on screen. Um, but then they also collect data from that, and so they can really like track like overall win rates in the community of anyone who's running it. Most people aren't running that app. So like they're only getting the small percentage of data from people who are running the app. Um, but it's like flawed. It's flawed data. Because that like it, a lot of like your. I mean, if you're looking at the overall community, it's like okay, well, you know, what is the skill level of these players who are playing it? So some decks might do better with better skill levels. Um, but then there's also this interesting, like I don't know if they really account for this like mirror match thing. If there's like for a while, like Loki was like 20% of the meta. So 20% of players are playing Loki. And that means that like in those mirror matches, right, like Loki wins 100% of those games, but also loses 100% of those games, right? So then like that really like drives down like the win percentage of if Loki's the best deck. So like because they were like
Well,
at that
doesn't
time when
that
Loki was
balance
20,
itself out? Doesn't that balance itself out?
well, no, it'll drive it toward 50%. So I did some like crude math on that, and like it seems like it has a pretty significant effect if it's like a large share of the meta, because they were saying like Loki had like a 55% win percentage or something, but like if he's in 20% of the games, like it's gonna really like I think like his Loki's win percentage when not playing against Loki would be like around like 70% or something, or something like it. Like it really drives it a lot closer to 50% when it's a big share of the meta, I guess. But yeah, anyway, I think like the top. Back to your question, the top decks are probably like somewhere between like 60% and 65% or something. Like that's like really high, right? Like, and that's similar. I've heard that for like most like pro sports teams, like that's like a really high win percentage. If you can win 60% of your games, that's like very, very high.
I feel like I'm at about 45% win rate at the moment. So it's naturally I think that would lead to some frustration.
Yeah, right. You really, yeah, it's like seems like a small percentage below 50%, but you really notice it. Like I really know if I'm playing a deck that's just losing 45% of the game or 55% of the games that's losing, it's like you feel it.
Hmm. Any other collection updates? Or
Um,
notable
I don't,
items?
I can't think of anything. I mean, I guess
I mean, we kind of look at
I'm
this
for the
sheet.
most part,
Yeah, go ahead.
I have the resources to buy like almost every card. It's just the question. I'm just like still gonna avoid cards that I think are bad. But otherwise, like I'm pretty happy with like if any card looks fun. I guess I'm setting my bar. I think at the Lady Deathstrike. Like Lady Deathstrike is a bad card that's fun, so I'm glad I bought her. Um, Whereas Black Knight is like a bad card that's not fun, so I'm glad I didn't buy him. So that's kind of where I'm just trying to make sure that it's a card that's fun enough that I'm gonna play it.
Yeah, I think I would like I'd like them to improve Lady Deathstrike a little bit, either by dropping the cost one, or maybe they could change it to that she destroys all the cards with the same or lower power or something.
Yeah,
I,
right.
I want to
Yeah,
play it, but like I was trying to do wave, but the problem is I don't wave helps them too. I don't want to let anyone else drop their big cards down when I'm just trying to get Lady Deathstrike out.
yeah, right.
So now I've included the X-23 and also Psylocke as a couple ways to get a little, you know, uh, a little boost in energy.
Thanos can do it too with the time stone.
That's true. That's true. Um, any other collection updates?
No, I think that's all I got. I'm excited. I am excited for the next couple weeks. I think Nico is going to be really fun, and so same with Werewolf, and then following that we've got Ms. Marvel. Looks pretty good, and a lot of the November cards look fun. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited for those.
Yeah, and I also think that they have kind of like, spread some out in different piles in terms of different deck inclusions. the Loki season really had a lot of alignment between the different cards, and multiple cards they could go into a similar type decks. Whereas you know obviously if you can you go back one slide, there's the all of the recent cards seem to fit in different decks, right? Man Thing, Black Knight, Werewolf, that's a move card. Elsa's bounce card, bounce deck card. Nico, we're not sure yet what the heck that's going to be end up going inside, but but definitely seems like a fun one.
Yeah, right. They're releasing a lot of good variety, and I think that's really helpful for the metagame to have good cards that can go into different decks, and they're always like trying to balance like different win conditions and counters to those win conditions.
Definitely. All right, so should we go to our topic of the week?
Yeah.
So our topic of the week here is price analysis, and what we try to do every show is Hoagies educates us. That's what we should call this segment. Hoagies education session. This is where Hoagies tells something and I'm in denial. I try to argue against it, saying how no, it's not. That's not really the case. Until he, maybe 20 minutes in, finally proves the fact that I am an idiot. But I think we've been talking about one of our like ongoing bits is the whole porpoise conversation, porpoise whales. I know we've talked, and I know that we've also mentioned how Marvel has become like the highest grossing. Is that right? Highest grossing online card game at the moment. And so Hoagies did a little bit of price analysis, and that's you're gonna tell us what you've uncovered.
Yeah, so I think our last episode, I think I was feeling a little overly jaded about capitalism that week, and just like thinking about like Marvel's not being greedy, and like that's why they're not doing series drops, is because they just want to charge us more money and they're lying about it, and like I was just really frustrated, and then the very next day I saw a post on X by Lauren whatever, she's done a lot of math about like the new Spotlight Cash system, and she was talking about how like just like that different types of players have different strategies for how much they spend, and how they're acquiring new cards, but that like the system is actually still better than the old system even without the series drops, as long as you're buying the season pass and opening your spotlight caches strategically. And so like that really made me like kind of like do another 180 and just think more about like that concept of series drops. So they took those away and haven't really said if and when they're coming back. But I remembered that like when they did have series drops, I actually like wasn't even getting any good cards from the series drops, right? They were only the drops were only dropping the bad cards that I didn't want to spend my resources on, right? So it's only like spending my resources on the good cards, and then the series drops would give me the bad cards. So I don't really care about not having the bad cards. So that's not
Yeah,
one consideration for me.
and not to interrupt you, but I mean, I definitely do feel like, I mean, and I am paying for the season pass, but I pretty much have the resources to get whichever card I want now at this point, now that I have been doing this strategically.
Yeah, and you've got a little catching up to do still too, right? Like you still need to get Iron Lad. He's probably the biggest card that you need. But once you get Iron Lad, right? Like once you get caught up, then you're spending on you're just buying the season pass. Like you really get a lot. There's a lot of value in buying just the season pass. And so for a brand new player, it might take you somewhere between like 3 to 6 months to really get caught up. Buying the season pass every month and just doing all your missions and getting caught up with your collection. But at that point, you get access to all the top meta decks, and that's so, and, think like comparing that to something like Magic the Gathering, like you can't pay $10 a month in Magic the Gathering and get access to all the top meta decks, right? Like that's like to access one top meta deck is going to cost you a lot of money, let alone all of them. And personally, I think Marvel Snap's a better game. So it's, I enjoy Marvel Snap more, and I have access to all the top meta decks, and I have spent a lot more than $10 a month. But I think I would still have access at least to the top meta decks if I had only been spending $10 a month this whole time. I wouldn't have as many awesome variants as I do, but that's another story.
Well, also, I mean, now I've been paying attention to this much more closely. We're 6 episodes in here, right? So I've been actively engaged, for the past few months, and I mean, it does seem like the season opening card seems to be the best card that they're going to release that season, and the most like meta influential. So it's kind of like there is that payoff. You're talking about accessing those top meta decks. Like, if you got the season pass, it doesn't really matter if you got the subsequent, the man thing, right? The Dark Knight. Elsa's the one you'd want. And Elsa's the one you get. And then from there, you can kind of decide how you're going to spend your resources.
Yeah, so and I don't know if that trend's really going to continue, because that's definitely been true for the last 2 months. Loki and Elsa are like the two best cards in the game right now. They're both season pass cards. But then if you look back, 3 months ago was Ghost Spider, I think, was a season pass card, which is not, or no, she was. I think Phoenix Force was 3 months ago. Ghost Spider was the card before that. Neither one of those cards are like that good, honestly. I mean, they're fun. They're both fun. They're decent cards, but they're not like the best card in the game by any means. And so I don't. I mean, maybe they've decided. They might have decided since then that they are going to. The season pass card will be the best card every month. Maybe that trend will continue. But the lead game designer, Glenn Jones, he actually he did comment on that question because he answers a lot of questions on Discord and X, I think. But he did actually answer that question.
Which question?
He commented on it because someone asked, like, are you just gonna have like the season pass card be the best card every month? And he said no. He said he does want the season pass card to be impactful, especially if it's like the season's themed around that card. He really wants that to be impactful, so he doesn't want like, he feels like it's a miss if like they release a season pass card, or like his example was like if Shuri was the most impactful card during the Loki season, that would feel like a miss to us. We want Loki to be the most impactful card during the Loki season. But he did point out, like, he's like, okay, so you're talking about how like Loki and Elsa are the best, best cards of the month. So you're commenting on like 2 of the months where they were the best. Season pass was the best, but look back at some of these other months where the season pass card was not very impactful. Like, so and then he was talking about how hard it is. Like it's not like an exact science for them. They're a card might be slightly overpowered, might be slightly underpowered. They can't get it perfectly right every time. So I don't know. I mean, it's possible that they're still going to try to make the season pass card be the best every month, but I'm not entirely convinced yet.
All right, so take that into your analysis then.
So, I was thinking more about just like what is their strategy, right? Like are they more focused? Is their main goal to get us to pay $10 a month for the season pass? Is that the biggest goal, or are they trying to like trying to pressure us into spending more than $10 a month? That was really the question I was trying to answer, and I was kind of thinking about business models like Netflix that their only price really that you can pay them is like $15 a month, right? I think they may have some other levels than that too, but they make a lot of money by getting a lot of subscribers at a very affordable price point. And so that's where I was like, could it be a good business model for Marvel Snap to just kind of treat this like a subscription? Like the main thing is they want you to pay $10 a month and you get almost everything, right? You get almost, you can play all the top meta decks, just $10 a month. Um, and and so then I was thinking like, okay, so what if they wanted, just like as an example, not sure if any of these numbers are accurate, but like let's say that every month 1 million players pay money to Marvel Snap. What if 90% of those were at $10 a month? If that was really their goal, is to just like try to get as many players as possible to spend $10 a month, um, then like that would generate $9 million of revenue per month, which is pretty good. And then what are the other players paying? I just as an example, I was like, okay, so what if some
And
9% of the rest of the go ahead.
and these numbers are just pure speculation. Is that right? Like,
Yeah,
do you
pure
have it?
speculation.
Did you
Yeah.
were you able to find any information in terms of how many paying
Well,
players there are, or any percentages or anything like that?
Um, I didn't look too hard for that, but I did read that article in Forbes like a month or two ago that talked about how Marvel Snap is the highest grossing digital card game right now. And I think it had their revenue this year at something like $100 million. Now they've been growing, right? So like they might be making something like $15.5 million per month at this point. I'm not really sure, but I think like this could be close to where they're at. So this could be I think this has a good chance of being pretty accurate. But yeah, it is mostly speculation. Um but yeah, so let's say that like they get 9% of the players to spend an average of $50 a month. So that would be an additional $4.5 million. But that's only half of what they would be getting from that 90% of players paying $10 a month. And then and then what if an additional 1% of players spend an average of $200 a month? So that would be an additional $2 million. And that's still even half of what the $50 a month players are generating. And and I guess like my conclusion is that like I think like a really this would be a really profitable business model. I think if in fact they really are focused on just maximizing, really getting enough, as many players as possible to spend $10 a month. Like that would generate $9 million a month for them, and then in this model, like that would be 58% of their total revenue. And then like I think like they don't even have to put that much effort really into these other types of players who are willing to spend more money because they'll kind of naturally just trickle upwards. Well, once like the hardest part is getting them to spend some money, right? Getting them to spend the money for the season pass. You're always going to have some players at the top who want to spend more money, and then like they do an awesome job with all of the variants, the cosmetics. Like yeah, at first I didn't really care about the cosmetics, but now I am starting to really enjoy the cosmetics, and I have spent some money on the cosmetics. I probably am in that 9%, $50 a month average. Um,
Are you?
uh,
Are you?
yeah, I think I'm probably somewhere around there. I go back and forth. A
So,
lot of
so
months I
you
only
you
buy the season
dabble
pass.
in, you dabble into the Orca range. So
Yeah,
so you you,
yeah,
you
I
kind
think
of go
so.
back and forth.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think I'm back and forth between like, well, I don't know. I think $200 a month is whale. I think you have to
Yeah.
spend two
Oh
hundred
yeah.
dollars
Oh
a
yeah.
month.
Yeah.
I've never spent $200 in a month. Um, but yeah, and I think of it, really in terms of like my monthly gaming budget. Like I
What is your
and
monthly gaming budget?
I it's probably like $100. I don't have an exact number, but yeah, I mean,
Does that
that's like
include
I'm willing
like trips to the arcade, or is that just like acquisitions to games you're playing or new games?
to no, because that trips to the arcade come out of my parenting budget.
Right.
Um, so uh, yeah, I mean, so like, yeah, I'll buy some like Switch games, right? Like that's in my gaming budget. But like a lot of months, I'm like, I don't want to buy a Switch game. I just want to play a lot of Marvel Snap this month, and I haven't spent much money on games lately. So like I'm fine, even though like these bundles seem really expensive, like I love the game, I love supporting it. I have the I'm privileged. I do have the resources to spend money on it, and I enjoy it. Um, well, so
is that
what do you think of? Go ahead.
is your gaming budget negotiated with your partner, or have you just decided that that's how much you're going to allocate?
Oh yeah, no, we don't really care about what the other person spends on their
Okay. Okay.
personal. But we have our joint account where we pay our bills, and then we can do whatever we want.
Hmm. Okay. All right. What were you gonna say?
Oh, just curious. What do you think about the pricing of Marvel Snap?
I mean, yeah. I guess. I mean, as you're describing that, I think about myself, and I think about the like thinking of it in the subscription model, and so if I paid basically $120 per year for that, as opposed to just kind of occasionally, then would I feel that? How would I feel in terms of that spending that much money for the game? Like obviously, I think these days people like the subscription model that we've kind of moved into now for entertainment. People decide how much they have at their disposal and kind of where they want to allocate that. There's all the different streamers now. People have to decide which streamer they want to get. Obviously, unless you have a lot of money at your disposal, you're probably picking and choosing one or two, or YouTube TV or Netflix or Disney Plus, or whichever. And so kind of just lumping Marvel Snap as one of those, seems to make sense. Um, yeah, I mean, I think that $120 per year to basically have access to the resources, I think, is reasonable. Um, I wonder if they're ever planning to increase the price on that. I think that I would hope not, at least for the time being, and in the kind of economic state that we're all in. But yeah, I guess I would be curious to know, like, how many people pay the season pass every month, and I mean that makes sense. I feel like if the company's pulling in $15.5 million per month, I don't know how much their costs are, but I feel like they're doing pretty well.
Yeah, I think they are too. I mean, the game was in development for years. I think it was like 3 or 4 years before they released it. It was in development. So like that's all sunk costs they have to make up for. So I don't know if they've actually turned a profit yet. But I would think like once that initial investment is paid off, I think they're going to be doing pretty well, especially if they can maintain this, right? Like, and that's the thing. Like, if they're increasing the prices, that's going to be harder to maintain in the long term. I think like this seems like a really sustainable model that to get people to
I think,
pay
I mean,
small amount over a long period.
before the pod today, I did a quick Google search. How many Marvel characters are there? It said like 80,000.
80,000. Oh my
Um,
God.
I don't know
I
if those
got
are
this.
all like I don't know if they're all like superheroes. You know, um, like yeah. What do you got there?
This is the Marvel Encyclopedia.
That's cool.
I don't know if this has every character in it, but it has like a lot of them.
Oh, that
A
looks
lot. It's kind
cool.
of fun. Like a lot of the variants are like straight out of this book. And I listened to an interview with Ben Brode one time. He's like the founder, like chief development officer of Marvel Snap, and he said he read this whole book when like when he was like when the game was in development. He read this entire book. Um,
Yeah, he probably
Just,
probably a
yeah, just a
lot of
birthday gift.
notes and highlighting in there.
Yeah. But yeah, it's pretty fun. You know, when there's a character I don't know, I can just pull out this book, and it's just fun to like flip through it. And my son likes flipping through it with me.
How many cards are there at the moment? There's
I don't know. Is there like 300 maybe?
it says 284. Is that true?
284. Sounds right.
There's 284 cards. Oh,
Yeah, it's a lot. Huh?
okay. Well, interesting. That's okay. That's more than I thought. I mean, I guess right. So that means if they continue releasing a card every week, then that's just gonna swell, right? That's like 52 cards per year, and like we're just it's gonna be in the thousands someday if this just keeps going.
Yeah, right. And I wonder, like, while there are 80,000 Marvel characters, like it does feel like they have, like Loki was kind of the last big one, right? Like, are there any other like major characters that they haven't released yet? I just kind of wonder, like, are they ever gonna like do like different versions of Iron Man or something? I think that would be kind of fun. I feel like in a couple of years, I think they should start like doing some repeats.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Well, I think they're doing well for themselves. We're contributors, and we let us know in the chat if you have any insight or knowledge or other price analysis or financial information and insight that we can share with our community. I wonder how much they paid Dan Hip.
Oh yeah, I do wonder about that. Yeah, they do get some criticism about 'cause I think Marvel Snap doesn't pay any. Most of the artists don't get paid directly at all by Marvel Snap. Because like they sold their art to Marvel, right? And then Marvel Snap has access to the art that Marvel owns. So
So I mean, really? Wait, you mean so that they didn't basically put an order in with the artist, I mock up art for these 50 cards.
well, Dan Hip, from my understanding, is an exception where like Dan Hip actually creates art for Marvel Snap, so he does get paid by Marvel Snap for that. But he may be the only exception. There may be others, but most of the art in Marvel Snap is from comics. Most of the variants are like the variant. When you're reading a comic book and it'll show you like different covers of that comic book at the end. Um, like those, that's where they get a lot of the variants from, is those like variant comic covers.
They also, when I was a kid, they had like X-Men cards. Did we ever talk about that, or did I show you? And they had pretty
You did
awesome
show me
art.
those,
Like
yeah.
it was like Fleer, and like there was like 1995, 96. Like every year they would just release a whole, basically 200 of like Marvel superheroes, like with different artist renderings of them. And some of those were incredible. I used to have like some awesome like Gambit art, Cyclops art. Like one of those or two of those years, I was particularly into it. And I think once I don't know, a few years back, I kind of realized like, oh, actually, I can, now that there's the internet, I can just go online and purchase all of the cards that I never got before, and I still have them in a binder. And so now I'm collection complete on both of those years, thanks to the internet.
Yeah. Oh, that is awesome. I love like. I mean, I've got some nostalgia behind me. Did you ever play with Mad Balls when you were a kid?
Mad balls?
Yeah.
What's a
Do you
mad
know what that
ball?
is? Um,
I wonder if that's just what you called something in Minnesota. Mad ball?
no,
I have never seen that before.
it was a brand of toys, and they had comics and they had the cartoons. But I was big. I was really into these when I was like 3, and it's like I love the internet. I love being able to like access the nostalgia. I'm 40. I'm 40 now. I'm like I feel like every year I get older, I get more and more into like nostalgia, like from my childhood and stuff.
What tell the audience and myself what is a mad ball? Is that like a key lock in the front of it?
Oh yeah, one of the so they're I mean, I always just knew them as these little foam balls that have faces on them, and they're like monster faces. Like this one's a base. He's like the main character. He's a baseball with a face. But this guy just has like a block on his face. Um, and there's another guy that has like in one of his eyeballs is coming out, and there's one that's like a werewolf. But
Was
yeah, just
was
it
there
was
a
just
was
a
there a
fun toy from my childhood,
was there a
like that I have
was there a TV
them
show
now.
or something related to that?
Yeah, it was like I had a movie when I was a kid, and if I was just at a used bookstore the other day and found a Madballs comic book that I bought, and so I was reading that with my son, and he really liked it. Um, but yeah, I watched like the movie I think when I was a kid, and then I just played with the toys.
Okay, mad balls. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. That's it's always
Yeah,
interesting to see, like what people were into and like what things they missed. Obviously you grew up in Minnesota. I grew up in Illinois, in the Chicagoland area. Um, hmm. All right. Any closing thoughts on the price
yeah.
analysis?
What one other way that I look at pricing with Marvel Snap is like the amount of time that I spend on it. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
so it is my favorite game, and I play it like 3 hours a day on average, I think. Um, and I haven't been playing as many other games since I started Marvel Snap, but I do, I guess Hollow Knight is maybe neck and neck with Marvel Snap. That's maybe my other favorite game. And I have probably played more than 200 hours of Hollow Knight, but and I guess I haven't. I don't know if I've sat down and thought about this. If I play 3 hours of Marvel Snap a day for a year, that's like over 1,000 hours, right? Um, so I've played 200 hours of Hollow Knight. I've played 1,000 hours of Marvel Snap. Another one of my favorite games is Zelda Breath of the Wild. I've probably played like 100 hours of that. But if you like kind of like think about the cost per hour, um, while I've spent a lot more money on Marvel Snap than I did on Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight is a huge exception because it's like I spent $10 on it, right? Like that's a huge value for Hollow Knight because it's so cheap and it's such an amazing game. Um, Zelda Breath of the Wild is $60. Uh, and played like 100 hours of it. Um, that's a pretty good value. But I think like Marvel Snap is right around that value for the amount of money I've spent on it. But again, I could have spent less. Like if but again, but if I think about like my monthly gaming budget and the amount of time I'm spending on a game, like I'm fine paying being in that like $50 a month price range.
Well, I think like I watch some game reviews before I buy them usually. I like the IGN game reviews. I don't know if you ever watch those on YouTube, but um, I think the standard that a lot of their reviewers go by, or some of them, is like $1 per hour. If you're gonna,
Oh, really?
yeah, I think they kind of said like if you're gonna spend 60 bucks on a game, then you want to get at least 60 hours of gameplay out of it. I guess if that's how they thought about it. So according to that, if you're spending $10 on Snap per month, um, but you're playing 3 hours a day times 30 days, you're getting like how many 90 hours. That's also giving you a really good value. So yeah, I think that's kind of how I think about it as well. If I was spending a dollar per hour of entertainment, I feel like that's a worthwhile investment.
Absolutely. Yeah,
And
dollar an hour.
I'm actually also replaying Hollow Knight now. I think because we were talking about it, and yeah, I revisited it. It is interesting playing, and I think you've played it. You said like you're on your third playthrough or fourth.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, different levels of completion. I've never made it to 100%,
It's,
but
I mean, it is interesting on the second go around because there's definitely parts that I very strongly remembered. There's definitely parts that I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. And then there's definitely like, you're more aware of like what you could do, what you like. All right, I know what this is. I don't have this yet. I'm like not even. I'll just come back to this later. Like, it's a little bit more of an efficient experience. It's a little less. I mean, I don't know, audience, if you've ever played Hollow Knight, but it's just as a really fun platformer, and you kind of don't really understand how big this kind of the scope of it is, and like as you're going through, you're just kind of like, oh my god, this is this other area and this other one, like where the hell am I? That's obviously lost on a second playthrough, but that was like, I think that was one of my favorite experiences of playing it the first time. But it's a really nice game.
oh yeah. Speaking of nostalgia, right? You like you relive like when you replay a game, you relive the original experience of it. So, but it's like, and so like Hollow Knight is a Metroidvania game with the big aspect of it is exploration. So the first time you're playing it, it's all like you're just exploring this new place. And then the second time through, you're like remembering where things are, but you're still kind of reliving that exploration. Um, yeah, so fun.
Totally. Yeah. Or I have, like I'm remembering some bosses, or I'm in a certain area, and I'm like, okay, I know the boss is at the top of this. Like I'm not ready. Like I'll just kind of like mark it, come back later.
Well, yeah, it's so interesting. Like, your first playthrough, and you're like playing against bosses you're not ready for, and how hard that is. And then and then when you play it again, it's like you already have the lived experience of defeating this boss once.
It's and that
Plus,
and that, and that
to
muscle
wait
memory is
until you're
still in
ready
there.
for
That
them.
muscle memory is still in there.
Yes, I know it is. It's like crazy how much easier the bosses are after you've already
I
defeated them
wonder. I
before.
mean, we both played Cuphead, which is like
You know,
platformer minus the like it's just pure bosses. But I wonder if that's
you're
also
just
the
like
case.
crazy hard
Like
bosses.
it's just like it's yeah. That was a fun experience where you just have to. It's like, all right, I just like this is just learning. Like I don't even feel bad about dying because you have to die. You just basically have to just learn the patterns.
It is a good. I think that's a good metaphor for the difference between like being competitive in Marvel Snap and being casual. Is like competitive is like playing Cuphead, and then casual is like playing like Mario or something. Like, and you can do both, right? And it's like there's like a level of stress in like being like in that competitive level, the Cuphead level, but then there's like it's just kind of like it's just normal. It's like I don't know. It's interesting.
Hmm. All right,
Um,
let's go to our deck discussion for today.
okay. You want to kick us off and read the deck list, and then
Yeah, so discard is having a little revitalization week here with the Black Knight. I know a lot of people are playing that. We've already talked about the Invisible Woman, which is not in this deck, thankfully. This is your discard deck, I believe, that you're playing and having success with at the moment. And I'm glad to hear you're not doing the Invisible Woman because that's a very annoying mechanic. But so basically, here's your deck list. You got Blade, Morbius, Wolverine, Swarm, Colleen Wing, Gambit, who you said you kind of haven't been playing a lot of Gambit until maybe recently. The Lady Sif, Dracula, Silver Samurai, M.O.D.O.K, Lips, and America Chavez. So I
yeah.
guess
So I
should I do my
oh
casual
yeah
my casual skim, my casual glance. So yeah, I mean I play a discard deck too. So Colleen Wing, right? I mean Blade, you kind of always have to wait. Blade, you got to wait until the right card is lined up for you. That could be Wolverine, Swarm. It could be Apocalypse. You kind of want to be strategic with that. You can hold the Morbius or drop it because the the discard is, even cards which were discarded before it goes on the board will still come into effect. I usually like to get the Morbius out early if I can. Um, I like, yeah, Wolverine is a good, you need, for discard decks, you need to have those hitters in there that you want to be discarded. You don't want to discard your M.O.D.O.K with your Gambit if this deck doesn't have a bring back a discarded card, unlike doesn't have the what's his name, the 4/3.
Hell Rider.
Yeah.
Or Ghost Rider, I mean.
Yeah. Next episode, I'm gonna have a deck list. I'm gonna have the card list right here, so I won't sound like a freaking idiot and forgetting all the card names. So yeah, I mean, it kind of hurts you if you have to discard a M.O.D.O.K in this kind of deck, basically. So, yeah. So tell us that there's the Silver Samurai in here, okay? Which we know, I guess, could pair well with a Stature, but Stature is not in here. So tell us how this design works out for you, why you made certain choices, etc.
Yeah, so I guess I was just wanting to play a different deck. Like I said, like I'm getting a little tired of playing the top meta decks, and I was like, okay, I want to do something I haven't done before, and I haven't really played much Silver Samurai before, so I just wanted to like build a Silver Samurai deck, and then I was like, thought about it for a little bit, and I was like, I think he's best in just kind of like standard discard deck. Now, I do think, yeah, I do also want to try the Silver Samurai like Black Bolt Stature deck too, so I'll probably do some of that this week, I think. Um, but yeah, the rest of the deck is just kind of like it's to me, this is just like a very standard deck, right? Like just a very standard setup for a discard deck. Another, when I was like working on this one, I was like thinking another card that I think is very powerful that I just haven't played that much is Gambit. So, yeah, and playing this week, it has been very fun playing Gambit. Because I in Magic Gathering, I love playing black like discard or black destroy cards, and so like Gambit I think is the closest to that, where you can you destroy, you can really destroy a lot of stuff, but it's random. There's a lot of randomness built into Gambit in that he's discarding a random card from your hand plus destroying a random card on the opponent's side.
That is a very black card. It's like sacrifice this to destroy one of theirs, or that kind of thing.
Yeah, but I mean, I think Gambit can be really powerful early games, especially when there's like an Elsa or a Collector on the board, something else that you really want to get rid of. Like, Mobius can be like kind of a pain in the ass against Swarm. Swarm is really the only card that gets affected by Mobius, but if they play, or if like Elysium comes out, right? That's the location that gives you cards -1 cost, and they snap turn one and play Mobius, then you snap back and play Gambit and take out their Mobius. Um, so yeah, I've been enjoying playing Gambit. Back to Silver Samurai. I really do enjoy Silver Samurai. He is the only Series 4 or 5 Series 5. He's a Series 5 card, but everything else in here is Series 3, I believe. Oh no, it's M.O.D.O.K. M.O.D.O.K must be a Series 4. But Silver Samurai I think is really good. The biggest value I think you get out of Silver Samurai in this deck is playing against Shuri Red Skull. That Silver Samurai is like almost guaranteed to take out their Taskmaster. So that's really helpful against that, because that deck can just be really hard to beat. And so that's the way that this deck beats that Shuri Red Skull deck, is just taking out their Taskmaster. So yeah, you really want to make sure you're holding Silver Samurai and that you're playing him correctly to try to target the Taskmaster. But yeah, otherwise, I think the deck is just really fun. I think it's I was kind of like comparing it to Candy Crush in that it's like it's just easy. I've been busy this week traveling, enjoying Disney World and everything. And it's just been like nice to have a deck that I don't have to think that much about, and it's just kind of a fun deck to play where that's low thoughts, I don't know, low stress on the brain, I guess. But yeah, I'm enjoying.
If you like this one, I really want you to try my discard deck. I think like it basically amplifies the fun that you're having in this deck, because Wong, you've got Magik, so you basically your turn 7 is where you're gonna play the like heavy apocalypse, and you have more likelihood of having that out there, the more draws you get. But if you can get like a swarm, if you can discard swarm earlier in the game, then you have like more bullets in the clip. Like when you play a Gambit or the Moon Knight on top of Wong, and then when you play like a M.O.D.O.K on turn 6 on top of the Wong, then you're double M.O.D.O.King, and that so you can clear out all the Daken blades if you had a Daken play, or you clear out all the swarms. So you basically end up with like one powerful apocalypse and a handful of swarms as like your turn 7 play, and like basically a double M.O.D.O.K with that, like you can push like Morbius up to like 20 something, like, and just like double blasts. So you have to try that.
Okay, yeah, I want to. Yeah, I think so. I think this version is the consistent version, and then yours is more of like a high risk, high reward. And it just gets super crazy, and that's super fun. I actually used to. KM Best had a discard deck back when M.O.D.O.K was like the season pass card, I think, where it had Wong and Shuri in it. It was and Zabu. It was like Zabu, Wong, Shuri. Um, and you're and so like that would just get really crazy with like you play like Wong and Shuri into Wong and then M.O.D.O.K into that Wong Shuri lane. It's pretty fun. But yet, like anything with Wong in it, it's like, there's so many counters to Wong that can be kind of frustrating. But again, it's just like it's high risk, high reward.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, I tried playing Dracula, but it's just. I mean, I guess that's maybe where the Chavez helps. You're gonna have the Chavez there. Um, yeah, I guess you'll have Chavez there as well. But yeah, it's a pretty similar deck actually.
Dracula I think is really fun, and he's also like really hard to counter. There's not a lot that Lady Deathstrike is one that counters Dracula, but otherwise, it's something that happens at the end of the game. So he can't be Shang-Chi'd. He doesn't have like an ongoing or on reveal. So again, he's hard to counter. And then Apocalypse is a really good like Dracula target too. So it's like one strategy. You can play M.O.D.O.K on turn 5 or on turn 6. Like if you've got APOC in hand, you play M.O.D.O.K. You're gonna
you mean lips
clear lips, but you're gonna clear your hand, and then M.O.D.O.K hits APOC / lips, and then like Dracula gives another like proc to Apocalypse, and then so he'll get another 4 points before like Dracula takes his power.
Well, see,
So I think that's pretty good as well.
See, that's why I like having the Wong. I think really makes it sing because you get Wong on turn 4. I mean, sure, vulnerability, but then your turn 5 gives you so many good plays. You can do a blade, a blade Gambit. You can do a Colleen Wing Gambit. You can do a Colleen Wing Lady Sif. So if you got Apocalypse in your hand, you're hitting Apocalypse twice with that one, and then M.O.D.O.King again. If you've got the Swarm in your hand, you're Colleen Winging the Swarm multiple times, and then I've also got the Moon Knight in there. I think that having the opponent discard 2 of their cards, like on turn 5, that's like that's like a really good method to stop, have somebody get like counter their powerful cards that they're holding for their final plays.
Yeah. So get them to rage quit. The yeah, so uh I've been really enjoying the Camartage with this deck. Like Camartage comes up and you get like the double discards and stuff, but also the double
That's
Gambit of
that's
Camartage.
so that's what I'm talking about. Like, just build the Camartage into your deck.
Right.
And
But then what's even better than Camartage is what the Bar Sinister, right? Like if you can play like
oh yeah, yeah,
Gambit
yeah. Oh gosh, yeah,
on Bar Sinister,
yeah.
it's pretty fun.
Yeah, hell
And
yeah.
again, rage quit. I mean,
Also,
opponents
yeah,
don't enjoy that.
that's what also I like. That's why I like the Daken. You put a Daken onto I forgot to mention Daken, like onto the Wong. Now you've got like a 16.
Mhm.
Like that.
Yeah, okay, I should try that. I do really want to try that because I had Dokken in here and I was like felt like he was you know
It's
I just felt like there's better options than Dokken in this version. But like yeah, if you have some like if you can double him twice, I feel like that's the only time to play a Dokken is if you can double him twice.
I mean, I think your deck has Wolverine. I feel like it's you don't really have tech cards in here unless you're counting the Silver Samurai.
Gambit, Silver Samurai, and Gambit, I
Okay,
think are
yeah,
both.
but Gambit is so random. I feel like it's only 50% of the time am I able to get to pick off the exact card. It's a dice roll. You've always talked about
Mhm.
the dice roll. I think that yeah, the discard deck. That's what it is. A fun dice roll. Um,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It is. But like, yeah, I like how like Blade is more targeted now. So like, that's a good time to snap, as if you have a good like opening hand with Blade and like something that he can hit right away. Um, and then I do agree that like this card or this deck is not really. It doesn't have much, even though it has two quote unquote tech cards in it. You're not really teching that much. You're mostly focused on just like I mean, it's kind of just like a mindless, just like just trying to play in the cards in the right order and like step three profit, right?
mhm. Yeah, I think this the my discard deck is probably my favorite deck. Like I've tried tinkering with it. I think I've settled on my favorite version of it. So I will share that. I will share that in the post. Other discard thoughts?
No, I mean, I guess I mean, back to Black Knight is like I didn't buy Black Knight, and what I've heard from a lot of the creators is that like there's if you add Black Knight to a discard deck, it makes it worse. Just use your like standard discard deck, and it's gonna be better than the Black Knight version.
um, what's gosh, I'm drawing a blank again. What's the discard? Next time I will have the deck list up, so I don't have to do this and seem like the okay Ghost Rider. I'm really showing my casual colors here. Maybe it's just I'm showing my age. I can't remember all the card names. Um, so yeah, I feel like a discard deck. It's there. I guess there's the bring back from discard, right? Is kind of like one of the sub genres of the discard. And I like actually what I had in the discard deck, deck that I had previously, which I had for a long time, but eventually I decided to move away from it, was the Ghost Rider Black Cat combo. Because and
Oh
basically
yeah.
Black Cat often ended up being my turn one play. You know, it's Blade's the only one cost card in here, but basically you're still scoring two on your Morbius with the Black Cat. I think they bumped Black Cat up to 4/9, which makes it more powerful but more susceptible to Shang-Chi. Um, but playing a Ghost Rider, like pulling in the power of Ghost Rider plus Black Cat, like that's a pretty powerful 4 cost play. It's it's almost like doing a Deathlok Winter Soldier version. In a destroy deck, just kind of dropping a heavy cost like 2 card combo down on one lane, and but I never really played the Hela deck, which as we've discussed, I'm not really into, but it seems like you're bringing cards back or you're not. I think are like the two main strains of discarding, and yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure where Shuri could fit into there. Hela. I think Hela is really a powerful card, but yeah, I guess the Hela decks really depend on you getting Hela.
Yeah, right. I agree.
and
You
not
just need
and
to get
not and not
Hela. You can't
discarding
have
Hela.
Hela. Right. 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 Which the change to Blade makes that easier to not discard Hela. But yeah, it's just I just get too frustrated with playing decks like that when it's like the pieces don't line up. That's just annoying. I think some people really enjoy that. It's great.
Yeah, if you're one of those people that plays Hela and drops all those big cards, good for you. Good for you. I'm happy. I'm happy you're out there and you're dropping 15 cards at the end of the game. Why not?
Yeah, I've never been a big Ghost Rider fan, but I do think I do want to try that combo you mentioned with Ghost Rider and Black Cat. I think
the problem is
it does
that
sound
the
fun.
problem is that really only works if Black Cat's the only one that's been discarded. Otherwise, it's not worth it. So, I think
Oh, that's a good
I
point.
think
Interesting.
that's when I put Lady Sif in, um, and I forget what the other tweak was. I think I used to have either one of Gambit or Moon Knight, and now I just have both.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so Moon Knight could be replaced by Silver Samurai maybe once you get him a little more. It's a little more targeted. It's a little less random.
hmm
But again, like that random can be beneficial with Moon Knight to hit your opponent's good cards.
I mean, it's a dice roll. That's it's like, all right, so I've got these cards in my hand. I've got like a 60% chance of like it being beneficial for me.
Yeah, I used to play the speaking of dice roll, I used to play Lockjaw in discard, and you're putting swarms into the Lockjaw, 0 cost swarms in there, and trying to hit some big stuff.
Oh yeah, that
Um,
could be fun.
I, I'm a big Lockjaw fan. I haven't played a lot of Lockjaw recently, but Lockjaw was one of the first Series 3 cards I got, so I played him a lot when it was like early Series 3, and a lot of good memories of Lockjaw.
Well, I guess it'd be worthwhile bringing this up since our Thanos pod last time. I can report back on my
Yeah,
Thanos experience, and I think
yeah.
the one that I ended up liking the most was your Lockjaw Thanos deck with M'Baku.
Oh yes, yeah, super fun. Huh? Did you win?
Like,
Did you win a lot with it?
yeah, that was definitely my most winning one. I feel like that deck. I feel like it almost needs a Carnage or something. So I feel like I mean I know actually or I put uh, yeah I need to have my deck list the card list. Oh, there's too many cards. The Khazar. I think I added a Khazar to
Mm,
it. I think you think you had Omega Red in there maybe, so I swapped that out for
mhm.
Khazar because I felt like I either needed to clear out some of the ones or boost them up. And I went with the boosting the stones more. Like the Omega Red, it was hard to pull that off for me. The thing about
That's good.
Lockjaw, which I realized because I hadn't played a lot of Lockjaw, is once you kind of get the cards you want, like or you might have certain cards in your hand that you want to play, but but you can't play them on the lockjaw lane. You know?
Yeah, right. Right.
Like, if it's in your hand, then it's not coming out of the deck. And so, like, if it's not,
Right.
a lot of those are ongoing cards, so you can't.
Those are just like, that's like the poker analogy. It's like the 2-8 or whatever. Like it's like the worst hand to draw, right? It's like when you draw like those, you're playing lockjaw and you draw all your big cards. That's like the worst draw possible, and you just retreat. Right? You just fold.
Yeah, I guess so.
2-7. It must be 2-7 is the worst hand. Poker.
I'm sure 2-8 yields a lot of folding as well. All right, so that does it for another episode of the Snap Chaps podcast. Thanks for joining us. As always, leave us your comments. Hit the subscribe button. I should say that earlier. But take care. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.